Hey, I'm Garrett Bradford, and I'm here to make you money in the new and exciting world of sports gambling. The first guaranteed winning angle I want to go into is a simple one. It's weather conditions. Yes, is it cloudy? Is it rainy? But the key component on these weather conditions is the wind. And let me give you a backstory about why the wind is so important. Obviously, when you go to a ballpark, is the wind blowing in or blowing out? That's an easy one. But where we can make money at this isn't called the overnights. See, books put out a total in baseball about, I'd say, 5 p.m. Eastern for the following day's events. And in when they release it is the game total. Is it 7.5, 8, or 9? What they don't incorporate is the wind condition the next day. You can simply go onto a website, and there's a myriad of them that tell you the wind conditions for the following day in the city where the game is being played and how it directly interacts with the stadium. So you can see if the wind's going to be blowing out or blowing in. Now, the total has not been adjusted. And what's funny about the books is since the beginning of time, they have not been releasing one certain ballpark, Wrigley Field in Chicago, because as you know, we always hear the theory about the wind's blowing out in Chicago, it's going to go over, and if the wind's blowing in, it's going to go under. So they reserve and hold off on that total till the next day when they're guaranteed to know the wind conditions. Well, for every other outdoor park, they set that total already, but what I don't understand is that I can get those weather conditions at the time they set the number. So what I simply do is get the weather conditions with the wind conditions in relations to where the ballpark is, and if I find a discrepancy of over 15 miles an hour either blowing in or blowing out, I make my wager accordingly. If the wind's blowing out, I bet over. If the wind's blowing in, I bet under. And it's amazing to see the next day how that line has been adjusted drastically on the weather conditions that you've gotten about 12 hours before. So you're going to be 2 to 3 steps ahead to make your wager. Now, you're not guaranteed to win every wager, but in the world to 11 to 10, if you can get 55% of those, you're going to be a nice, healthy profit over the long term. And by knowing the weather, simply knowing the wind conditions and the wind speed and the wind direction in relation to the stadium 12 hours in advance, you can capitalize on that weakness of the sports book and take advantage accordingly. So step number 1, remember, 12 hours before the game, check the weather conditions of each of the ballparks, the relation of the wind direction in conjunction with those ballparks, and when it hits 15 miles an hour, either blowing out or blowing in is when you make your wager, and watch how that adjusts. That's tip number 1. Up next, the casino theory, where I will break down how teams are upsetting other teams that are highly ranked within the playoffs. This is step 2 of a 7-part series on how to make money wagering on sports. The first one was about wind conditions. This one now is going to be called the casino theory. What is the casino theory? It's a simple one like this. As we all know, casinos are set up to make profit. Why do they keep building those buildings up in every city in America higher and higher? It's because they have an in-baked profit potential already set when you walk in the door. It could be anywhere from 1% to 10% depending on the game that you play, but there is not a game in the casino where that is not baked into the percentage. So they are guaranteed their profit regardless if you walk out or not. I use that same theory when we look at sports going into the playoffs. Obviously, you have a team that's ranked higher than the other, seeded 1 through 8 in the major conferences, with one playing 8. Well, when I look at this, people always say, well, the number 1 ranked team is obviously better. And I say, yes, over a period of time. That's the same thing with a casino. When you play blackjack, you're inherently disadvantaged at 5%, or less depending on the games that you play. The same can be said for a long-term baseball season. In 162 games, it is going to be baked into the team that is better is going to have a better record at the end of those 162 than the team that is worse. That's an obvious one. And the more that they play, the more that discrepancy will come unfold. But now, if you walk into the casino, you know that you're at an inherent disadvantage, that the longer that you play, the better chance that you will lose in the long run. But let me tell you this, when you sit down at that blackjack table and you play 7 hands, you can beat that dealer 4 times. We've all done it, we've all seen it, and we can do it over and over again. Now, if we play him 162 times, just like in a baseball season, we're probably going to lose in the long run. But in 7 hands, I'll take my shot that I can beat that dealer 4 out of 7. That's just simply 4-3. I beat him by 1. That's the same theory when you go into the playoffs. You have a long season where the better team is on the top and the A seed is on the bottom, but in a 7-game series, that team that's ranked 8th can beat that first-ranked team 4-3. It's the same concept of the casino. The longer a better team plays a worse team, the better team will come out on top in the end. But just like the hands of blackjack, if they play 7 times, that team that is the worst team over the long period can overcome that disadvantage in a 7-game set and win. And when you're looking at getting plus 300, plus 400, plus 500 in that 7-game series, the profit potential long-term on continually playing the lower seed will always come out on top in the end. And don't be scared, because all that 6-month season to get that home court advantage or home ice advantage disappears in 1 quick game. That's all you need. That lower seeded team beats the top seed in game 1, and all that work for 6 months is out the door. Now, that first place team is now feeling the pressure to perform because they feel they're better. The public feels they're better. They're starting to feel that pressure, whereas the A seed is just saying, hey, we're playing with house money just like you would when you hit a blackjack on the table. You take the time and a half and you got house money, and you play freer, you play looser, and you have a better time. And those convergences is the anatomy of an upset. And when you're giving me that high intake over and over again, the profits are continual and they'll never end, and it's a way to make money in this business. So, to recap, we went over the win theory, and now we go over the casino theory. Next one will be part 3 of our 7-part series, when I go into the psychology of sports. That's a key component to maximizing your bankroll. Thank you.